Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for our Facebook Live Lunch and Learn. Please like and share this video. You don't know who you're going to help by providing this resource. Alzheimer's Arkansas provides free resources to caregivers across the state caring for their loved ones with Alzheimer's and dementia. Today, we're going to talk about signs and symptoms. I think this is really important because of COVID-19. A lot of us are staying at home, having more contact with our elderly, our senior loved ones, and we need to know what to look out for just in case there may be some signs and symptoms. Please visit our website, alzark.org, for more information. So today, let's get started with the discussion of Alzheimer's, namely dementia. So first, I'm going to provide a little education of providing the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia. So dementia is an umbrella term for a collection of symptoms, usually pertaining to memory loss, difficulty in doing familiar tasks, confusion, and making up things. We kind of see those things in our loved one, and those things make up a dementia. So dementia, the umbrella term, are the collection of those symptoms. Now, the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia is Alzheimer's is a dementia, and it is the most common type of dementia. So that's the reason we hear so much about it, is because you hear the most common type. So just for educational purposes, your loved one can have a dementia diagnosis. However, the type has not been diagnosed. So those are the differences. Dementia is the umbrella term, and Alzheimer's is the type or kind of dementia. Now, we need to understand that dementia, as well as Alzheimer's, it is a progressive disease. It is not reversible, and it is not a normal part of aging. So just a tag, this is not meant for diagnosis. I am not a doctor, and you need to, if you think your loved one has some of the symptoms and you're concerned, please see your doctor. So let's start off with probably the most familiar sign is memory loss. So memory loss, short-term memory loss, is the thing to look for most of all. Many of our loved ones, if they have dementia or a sign of it, it is memory loss. So the short-term memory loss, what they did this morning, what did they have for breakfast. The memory, their long-term memory, what they did when they were 5, 10 kids 20 years ago, it is intact and really, really detailed and clear. However, the short-term memory loss is what is affected the most. Another thing is problems doing familiar things they have always done. Now, please don't think that because someone has a dementia, they have lost their intelligence or their full range of tasks. One thing could be if they were a mechanic, maybe they forgot how to do a part of mechanic work. However, they can still do other things, other tasks that they have done always, but maybe just one task they can't remember. And that's like the beginning signs. Maybe a mother, maybe she forgot how to make sandwiches. She's doing everything else. However, even when you lay the bread, the meat, all the things to make a sandwich, she cannot put the sandwich together. She does not know that the items, the meat, the cheese goes on the bread like the way the task. So familiar doing things that they used to do. Problems with frequently losing things. Now, losing things and putting them in places that they should not go. Now, most of these symptoms, I'm sure some of us are going to look back and say, hey, I do some of that. There is also a part of that that's normal aging. However, when it becomes a part of your daily life is when you need to kind of take a look at it. So along with misplacing those familiar things, are they making up things or saying that people have taken their things or stolen their things? People are coming in and somebody stole their things. Now that becomes an issue. So, along with that, understanding that many of these symptoms start to cause problems with, like, within the family and their day-to-day functions. Lack judgments and problem solving. So you take someone that has always had the ability to make sound and rational decisions, and they no longer do that. Maybe they started to go to the casino and spend all their money before they pay the bills. That is a judgment call. They are no longer rational when you have a discussion with them about maybe the way they pay bills, or they usually just say, I'm the parent, I know what I'm doing. So paying attention to those type of behaviors. Uh, Repeating conversations or questions. So that happens in a number of ways. Sometimes we get a lot of phone calls and they will have the same conversation, just like, if you have a morning call with your parent and they call you later, say, hey, good morning, like they had not spoken to you. So sometimes we overlook those discussions and those signs because we just kind of fill in the blanks and say, oh, they're okay. Another thing that a lot of our loved ones they do is they stop doing the things that they used to do, the things that used to interest them. Maybe they don't go to church as often. Maybe they don't hang out with their friends, and maybe they're making excuses like they don't feel good, or they just don't feel like they need to go. But lack of interest, usually because they're not thinking anymore and they kind of feel lost. So also, one thing we talk about a lot is, since we're like going thing, is driving. So when it comes to driving, that is a tricky sign. We say trouble driving. However, we talked about long-term memory. So our functions, when you have dementia, your functions are erasing backwards. So things knew how to do when you're 14, because many people start driving when they're 14, 16 years old. And that function is really kind of in place. However, the skills needed to drive are affected the most. So when it comes to their ability to respond to something, like a car stopping in front of them, or maybe a child running in front of the car, they're not able to respond as quickly as they could before. So the trouble driving may not be actually, getting in the car and driving, because they've been doing it a long time. However, the skills that come with driving may be an issue. Problem sleeping, like they're just off, like sleeping a lot, or their rhythm is off. They're used to sleeping in the day, now they're staying up at night and sleeping in the day. So those things also are signs and symptoms that we should take a look at. Change in mood or personality. Now that can come in a lot of ways. For the most part, I have heard people say, that their loved one was nice, and then they become irritated and angry all the time. There are a few people that I've heard that they were not so nice, and then they kind of calm down a little bit. So there are things to look in personalities, especially if you're asking questions and they seem to be irritable and short. Maybe there is something there. Getting lost in familiar places. So you think about Little Rock or where you live, it is not the same that it used to be 10 years ago. So if going out in the city, and maybe they do know how to get certain places that's always there, but as the street changes, they like easily get lost. The city has changed so much that it is hard, and it's easier for them to get lost just with one wrong turn. Maybe even lapse in times. They're kind of lost for a while. They're supposed to do something and they lose time. Supposed to go to doctor's appointments, forget about doctor's appointments, as well as not paying bills. One of the earliest signs we hear from loved ones is their loved one did not pay bills, like all of a sudden no bills were paid and there's shut off notices all over the place. So not paying bills, especially when they've been good at it all along. There's just a lot of things we should look at and remember that they will hinder their functions from day to day. Now, there are some things to look at, and that's why you have to go see a doctor that could cause some of these issues, such as medications, maybe UTIs were urinary tract infections. So there are some things that could cause some of these symptoms. However, you should see a doctor to ensure that it is not Alzheimer's or dementia, because the earlier you get a diagnosis, the more help there is out there for your loved one and for caregivers. Uh, we have these care cards, and that's where I'm coming from today. Care card number 1, and it's the possible signs of Alzheimer's disease and dementia. We have a full resource guide on our website, which we're about to go to in a minute. Give me just a second. So when you first go on our website, you will see COVID-19 and all of our resources, because we're trying to provide as many resources we can to caregivers across the state. So we have a COVID-19 update with all of our future lunch and learns, dates and times, as well as grant information and how to contact us when we're out of the office. You can call our office number at 501-224-0021, and you can still get in contact with us. Also, of course, go to our website, alzark.org, for the information to get our COVID-19 information, as we tend to get more information from CDC and our state and city representatives. We will update that. So our resources available to caregivers, there is a resource link, and under there are care cards again, and those care cards are downloadable, and they provide different resources for your caregiving experience. It'll talk about how to interact with your caregiver, with your loved one, how to communicate, engage, maybe how to get them to bathe. There's a lot of resources to help you in this journey. So please go on our website to check it out. Next week, on Thursday, April the 16th, we'll have Phil Smith from Senior Care, Laura Spradley from UAMS, as well as myself. And we're going to talk about some summertime caregiving, even maybe touching on some of that sundowning and keeping your loved one in a routine as the time changes and the sun is longer out. We also are getting ready we are so praying, like everyone else, that someday our life gets back to normal. And we do have 2 workshops set up for June: in Hot Springs on June the 12th, in Little Rock on June the 25th, our Caregiver Workshops, which are free to caregivers. It's an all-day experience. You can come out and get all the resources, education that you need in your caregiving experience. Again, please visit us at alzark.org. Thank you.